following Chalk Talk is brought to you by Isolite, the emergency lighting experts. Stay educated, my friends.
He's exactly like me in every way, except 1/8 my size. That's Dr. Evil introducing Mini Me 26 years ago in June of 1999. I felt like this was an appropriate kickoff because one, it didn't force me to talk about how unbelievably hot it is here in Philadelphia right now, but also because we're introducing two products today, the WXP and the WXPM, and the M stands for mini. So it's a Dr. Evil and a mini me. I'm Evan Ackman. I am both the host and MC today. Matt and Greg are out on assignment, of course. They're out there busy selling things, but I appreciate you guys being here on the first Chalk Talk of summer. And as I mentioned, we're going to be introducing two new products here today, the WXPM and the WXP. These are outdoor products. They're outdoor wall packs. And so in order to give a proper introduction to these, I wanted to start with a bit of a landscape of where we are today with our outdoor emergency wall packs, really talk about maybe where some of the gaps are or the reason why we chose to introduce these new products. We'll then jump over to the proper introduction and talk about the WXP and the WXPM, what they are, their wide range of applications, and sort of just what they mean for the product line and more importantly for you guys. We'll end by talking about the availability and the pricing of these products. I also have some housekeeping items that I want to go over that you need to be aware of, not just as it relates to these new products, but some existing products, as well as talking about our new price book that's going out. And then, of course, we will end on our how to get more information slide, talking about what's available now, what's coming soon, and what you should expect to see from us related to these products over the coming weeks and months. As always, this is a Chalk Talk, so you guys are muted, but that, of course, does not mean that you can't ask questions. Throw them in the chat, throw them in the Q&A. I'll make sure that I take care of everything before I get off of this presentation. So without further ado, I like to start with kind of a background of the landscape of where we are today. We really have two outdoor emergency wall packs. It's just the LED and the owl. And I think it's important to give a distinction between an outdoor wall pack and a much more traditional wet industrial emergency light. These two things are not the same. We have lots of industrial emergency lights. Obviously, a couple months ago, we introduced the Allo, which we believe is the one industrial emergency light to rule them all. But wall packs are a little bit different. Um, Mostly because they're slightly more decorative and they have some different color options available, particularly bronze. But they're designed to sort of fit into the exterior of a building a little bit more. So they've got more intentional cutoffs associated with them. The owl has a full cutoff, for example, whereas the Allo, you can kind of spray those lights everywhere. If you wanted to point them straight up in the air, you could certainly do it. But more than just the aesthetics and the beam patterns, there's features that these wall packs have that aren't necessarily available in traditional industrial emergency lights. And the one that's most notable is the integrated photo cell. Both the ELED and the owl feature that. So even if you're not going to connect it to like a snap switch or some sort of control system to have these lights illuminate at night, the photocell will allow them to just operate as a very sort of automated outdoor wall pack. So, this really sort of overlaps like the traditional architectural wall pack and emergency wall pack line. These are sort of emergency first type devices out on the exterior of a building. But we think we can do a little bit better. So first and foremost, the product line as it exists today kind of tops out at a relatively low output wattage. The Owl is about a 17-watt device. The ELED is an 11-watt device. For emergency applications, this is fine, but larger structures, if you want to get into more decorative or security lighting, that may not be sufficient. The pattern, the lighting pattern of them is much more tailored towards emergency lighting, with sort of a short throw out in front and then a long throw sort of tangentially to it down the sides. And so again, that's fine for most outdoor wall packs, but if you get to larger buildings or some of the more esoteric use cases, that's not necessarily sufficient for those applications. And so we have some thoughts about how this line could improve. We want to give a little bit more in terms of the output power. We want to give a little bit more flexibility in terms of the beam pattern of it. And we really wanted to give you guys a way to get to a consistent look and feel of products across the wall pack range. Not just for the emergency devices, but for the ones that are non-emergency as well. Slight differences in these products in those applications would start to show. And so in a way to bring consistency to the emergency and non-emergency exterior wall pack world, we are delighted to introduce the WXPM and the WXP emergency and non-emergency wall packs. And so you can see the WXPM there on the left. That's the smaller of the two. The M stands for mini, as I mentioned with my lovely Dr. Evil quote at the beginning. And then the WXP you can see in the back is larger, and you'll see that actually has more, a little bit more output power associated with it, which is what you get for that larger size. Now, there's some details here that we want to go with, and we're going to start with the smaller of the two products, the WXPM, the mini outdoor emergency wall pack. This is more traditional for us. This, at least philosophically, kind of matches what we've done with the OWL and the ELED. There's an EM version that has a battery inside of it. There's an AC only, sort of very traditional wall pack. You could back that off of an inverter or use it as just a very straightforward, non-emergency decorative security wall pack. But the major addition here is we've also added a matching remote lamp to this lineup. So for applications where maybe you have like an ALO inside or an exit sign that has some remote capacity on the inside of the building, and you need a little bit of light over the outside of the door, you can add that remote lamp without having to bring high voltage to it. And so you can already see, before we even get to the big guy, which is a little bit more of a departure from our typical products, this lineup is more complete. It's not just AC and EM. It also brings in that remote lamp sort of functionality with it. And you can see from the drawings there, it's small. They're tiny. They're pretty adorable. They really are sort of deploy where you need some additional light. A little bit lower nominal output for the AC and EM version at 9 watts. These are meant to be a little bit lower to the ground, smaller installations, not necessarily that 100,000 square foot warehouse. The remote version is really optimized for flexibility. So we have a 3-watt version, but it's internally selectable to be 1, 2, or 3 watts. Again, that really just focuses on that over door type application, or I just need a little bit more light over here in order to meet code. So allowing it to reduce its overall output power means it's compatible with more products in our lineup. All of them, well, the battery bank versions at least, feature modern lithium iron phosphate batteries. That's what allows us to get to that really slim 2.25 or 2.125 inch thick design. It's got outdoor ratings you'd expect. It's waterproof. That IP65 is strong water jets from all angles. So it's going to be very comfortable outside. It's got an IK rating, which means if you're expecting debris to be flying around and hitting it, it's going to be rated for that as well. It's got cold temperature ratings, so it goes down to all the way to -30 for the remote lamp, -20 for the AC, and 5 degrees for the emergency light. And the AC versions are actually color temperature selectable. So when you have one that is AC powered, you can actually change between, I believe it's 3,000, 4,000, and 5,000 Kelvin. So you get a lot of flexibility out of that sort of that low end, that small mini product line. And these are cute and small, but we also have the big dog here. And this is where we get into a little bit more of a departure from our traditional products. Whereas usually our instinct is to design these as emergency lights first. The WXP is actually designed as a wall pack first that also has some emergency capability. We're offering these in two physical sizes, but that really corresponds to four versions of it. There's a 25 watt and a 55 watt in a smaller housing, which you'll see dimensions of on the next slide, and then a 75 watt and a mind-boggling 100-watt wall pack in the larger housing. You can actually nominally dim all of these into three different levels via a little internal switch. So you can sort of artificially limit the 100-watt version all the way down to, I believe it's 35 watts. The thing that I will note here, and this is kind of what I mean when I said that these are AC powered traditional wall packs first, and emergency lights as kind of an additional feature to them. We do limit the power output in emergency mode. You're not going to get that full 100 watts when you're on emergency. You're only going to get like 25 watts out of it in that particular mode of operation. All of them have field selectable color temperature. So if you're in a dark sky area where you got to get down below 3000 Kelvin, we can do that. If you have some other pole lighting or like parking lot lighting that is at 6000 K, you can select that as well. And of course, all units feature the internal photocell. So you can connect it to your lighting control system and have it be switched with all of the outdoor lights, or you can just have the photocell kick through and operate them automatically. So it's very sort of focused on that exterior wall pack market. You can see the sizes there. These are larger than the WXPMs, all the way up to about 9.5 inches tall and a little over 11 inches wide, and then 5.25 inches deep. Everything that you'd expect from an outdoor product is white, black, and bronze. They're die cast, they're built like tanks. I mentioned the reduced wattage in EM mode. All of them still use that nice modern battery chemistry, that lithium iron phosphate. All of them are IP65 rated, and they all go down to -20 centigrade. So these things hopefully would be the wall pack of choice for outdoor applications. And this isn't a distant future product. We're making these available August 1st. The deep dark secret is you could probably place an order in the next week or two and we'd be able to fulfill it. We don't have them all built up yet, but they are starting to come together. So we think really by that second week of July, we'll be in a position to take orders. And pricing will be available in the new price book, which is about to be released. This, of course, leads us to those housekeeping items that I mentioned before. Um, we are releasing a new price book. The price book is going to go out either this Friday or on Monday. I just want to make sure that people see it. So sometimes Friday can be a tough time to release these things, but in the next 2 or 3 business days, you're going to see a new price book. I'm going to give you a word of warning there. Obviously, everything that we've talked about up to this point will be in there. So all low pricing is in there. Obviously, the WXP and the WXPM pricing that we're talking about right now, that will all be in there. But there's also some products that we have not announced that are going to be in there because we're far enough along in the manufacturing process that we know what the pricing will be and we know what the options will be and what the family looks like, but we haven't told you about them yet. So if you see some of those things, don't fret. You've not missed anything. You can certainly just wait for the Chalk Talk and we'll announce those to you. If you've got questions, you can certainly email any of us and we'll give you the lowdown. But don't be frightened if you see some options that you weren't familiar with before. The other housekeeping item is related to the LPDC2. Um, there's nothing really changing about this product line, but we are changing how we market it and how we present it on our website. If you'll recall when I did the release for this, oh God, 6 months ago or 5 months ago, whatever it was, basically we just said everything is an LPDC2. They're just options. It's one family across the entire line of products. That's caused some confusion, particularly as it relates to wet location and non-wet location products. And so what you're going to see when we release this price book is the website's going to change, the cut sheets are going to change, and how it's shown in the portal is going to change. The biggest change is the LW option, which right now we just strap to the end the order string is going to move to the front. So it looks like we have different families now for LPDC2 and LPDC2LW. Nothing has really changed. It just gives us an opportunity to sort of show and market the indoor dry location and the outdoor wet location product as sort of two separate things that are distinct. Keeps the cut sheets a little bit cleaner, makes it a little bit cleaner from an order entry standpoint. Hopefully, it makes it a little bit easier to talk about the product line in a less confusing way. So again, no real change to the product and how it's built and what's available, or even the pricing for that matter. It's just a way to display and market the product a little bit differently. So look forward to that. It should make things easier for you and for your customers as well. With that said, as it relates to the WXP and the WXPM, the website actually went live this morning with all of the cut sheets and sort of all of the relevant information there. The one thing that I have not published yet, which I will be publishing here in the next couple of days, are the IES files. They're a little bit tricky because they're versions for when it's in AC mode versus when it's in emergency mode. We also have them published for the different light outputs for that remote lamp. So I'm just trying to get those all organized before we put them up so that there's no confusion. And of course, as always, as a follow-up to this presentation, you're going to get a link to the slides here, as well as to me giving the presentation and any marketing assets that we have created at that point in time for the WXP and WPXPM. So look forward to that. As always, I'm Evan. Tom, Greg, and Matt are out on assignment, but they send their regards. If you guys have questions on this or anything else that we do, please don't hesitate to reach out. We appreciate everything that you do for us. So anything we can do to support you, we are 100% in for. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me here on the first Chalk Talk of the summer. Hope you guys have a great 4th of July holiday and a good summer. We will talk to you again at the end of July, where I think we're going to be talking about new product, or we might talk about the Allo again. Kind of up in the air on that. But look forward to that. Appreciate you guys being here. Have a good one.